Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Live with Lighthouse. Excited to be here for episode 2 and wanted to thank everybody who tuned in last week for our first episode with Jessica Copeland talking cyber insurance. I'm really excited this week because it's a big time of year. Applications are starting to come in for Western New York's 43 North application. The annual pitch competition in October awards $5 million to 5 startups. And we're really excited to see who's going to be the next companies coming to Buffalo. So here to share about that program today is Maura Devlin. And Maura is live on the show right there. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, Joe. Happy Friday. Thank you. Good to
Yeah,
be
thanks for taking
here.
some time to chat with me today. And could you just intro a little bit about your role with 43 North and the program for people who might not be familiar?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. So at 43 North, I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing Strategy. I've been at 43 North for, I guess, about 4 years now. And just, it's an absolute privilege and gift to get to work there as someone who loves Buffalo. I guess all Buffalonians love Buffalo, but what we really were designed and born to do is to drive economic activity and development here in Buffalo. And the way that we do that, we're an accelerator fueled by a startup competition. Like you said, we invest in 5 startups a year now. We get $5 million from the state of New York, and we take that and put it into founders that we think are going to build really high growth, scalable businesses that are then, going to have trickle down effects and really impact our region here.
Yeah, and when you look at the competition too, it's there's the startup aspect to it too, but it's also bringing in companies that are going to make an impact in the Buffalo community, right? These are companies that are going to be bring new jobs to the area, that economic impact, like you were saying too. What are some of the highlights of the program from your time too? Some of the kind of the moments that you think have really started to shape Buffalo as a startup destination, as a place where companies can come and grow.
Yeah, I mean, 43 North is we're a very there. It's on a cycle, So it's like each year. So we right now we're in the middle of our application season, or I guess we're almost near the end. We have about a week left. So we're at the point in time where we're out there recruiting founders from all over the world to come to Buffalo, but really to join our program. And that's how we get them here. And so we have these milestones that we look at across the year that are always really exciting for us. And even though it's kind of the same, it's like you have the application period, we get into diligence, we gear up for finals, which is this big show like Shark Tank. So we have these milestones that we look forward to, but they're never the same. Each year they're different, and it's always exciting. This will be our 9th cohort that we're bringing in, and so
Awesome.
no cohort is ever the same, and you get people from all over the world that come here, and they're just bringing this like fresh perspective of the way that they think, and also the way that they kind of acclimate and settle in here in our city. So I guess like fast forwarding to like that January point in time, that's when we bring them here. And it's always exciting because we've gotten to know them at that point for probably about 5 or 6 months. And then it's like they move here and it gets real. So that's always really exciting.
It's such a cool process to see play out throughout the year. And can you tell me a little bit too about some of the team that makes it all possible?
Yeah, so we have the 43 North team. I think we're at 13 right now. We've always been kind of
Awesome.
lean and mean, but that feels huge for us. And really, I don't think we probably do we talk about it in the interview process, but like I would say, I mean, everybody on that team, like you have to really love Buffalo because it's unlike any job I've ever had, and I think anyone on the team would say that too. We all kind of come at it with this specialty, this focus. Whether that's marketing or you have a background in investor relations. But you go in there and you do so many other different things, and it's just, you have to be able to adjust and really easily and be nimble. And so, while we all have our functional roles as like marketing, our portfolio team, they're supporting the founders constantly. We all play this big role in developing the show and the production that is finals. And that's always interesting to me because I don't. There's probably not one person on the team that had like a real background in producing a show like that.
Oh, wow.
So I think the team you have to kind of like unlock and some potential that your skill set that maybe you didn't really know that you had. So I kind of look at the 43 North team. It's like a Swiss Army knife.
Awesome.
And also just a super collaborative team, just a great, really dynamic and talented team. So it's again, it's really a privilege to be a part of that.
Yeah, and that pitch competition coming up in October that you mentioned, the big finals down at Shays, but there's a whole week leading up to that where the startups that get selected to come to Buffalo have an opportunity to see the strength of the whole startup community in Buffalo. And that's really, what I'm excited to talk about with you and dive in is Buffalo's emergence as a startup destination. Uh, Part of what makes Buffalo special, and I'm sure this is part of your pitch to everyone as you're coming to Buffalo, is the strength of the community. Obviously, we call it the city of good neighbors. What is the value proposition really there for startups who are looking to come to a city like Buffalo, and what does Buffalo offer that's different from other potential places where startups could go to grow?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Buffalo, Buffalo, and kind of the uniqueness of who we are as a region and as the people inside of this city are a huge part. And this is probably like the community should get an unsung hero award in terms of the success of how successful 43 North has been, because 43 North is nothing. We are only as strong as the backing and the support of the community here on the ground. And I genuinely mean that. I think that we get phone calls a lot from other cities like Detroit, Cleveland, people calling us and saying, "Can you talk to us about how you built this, how it was designed, and why it's
Incredible.
working so
Wow.
well?" And there are a few specific reasons in terms of the design of the program and when they created it and why it's working. But the other really big piece of that is the city of Buffalo, and I think you could replicate this anywhere. Pick a mid-sized city, especially that kind of like that Rust Belt mentality that we had and what we thrived on for so long. Like pick a city like that in the US, and sure, it could be successful. But I think what really fuels this is the nature and kind of that parochial nature of Buffalo as a region and people just wanting to help. I mean, we sell that, and we promote that in our marketing campaigns that you'll get the backing of an entire city. And then the founders get here and they're like, whoa, like it really is that, you're a big fish in a small pond. Or I love the stories of a founder, they go out, they're exploring like restaurants in Buffalo, and they start, they sit down, they're talking to somebody, and the next thing you know, someone in the restaurant hears what they're doing here, how they got here, and they're buying them a meal. And like those stories are like a dime a
Incredible.
dozen. And those are things that make us really proud because our team, we have nothing to do with that. But it's just like what we tell them, the city then goes and emulates that. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's so funny, right? That dynamic that I feel like I'm telling this to everybody who's new to Buffalo, and we're always saying it when we're pitching, whether it's companies or different professionals, people who are looking to come to Buffalo, that it's just that mentality of, oh, if we could only get them here to see what's so special about it. And then they have those organic moments like something in a restaurant. Or the thing I love about the city most is it's one of the few places I've been where just you're walking down the sidewalk or around the neighborhood and people will look you in the eye and be like, hey, how are you doing? And genuinely like care about you and want to hear about how your day's going.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
start
And
those
like
conversations. It's incredible.
it's a big part of the reason too that like people stay, that they've stayed. It's one
Mhm.
thing for us to be like, well, they get here and they love it. We have this is just for the 43 North portfolio companies. We have 64 companies. I think we're at about 59% retention rate of that means companies that have decided to stick around in this city. I mean,
Mhm.
that is because they've fallen in love with the region and what it has to offer and the people here. That to me, that says it all. It really speaks for itself.
It's incredible. And maybe we could talk a little bit too about what that process looks like. So companies, if they win the 43 North pitch competition, then they come into the incubator for a year, and then there's a whole swath of community organizations that can help them out and continue the support as well. Uh,
Yeah,
what does that whole startup community look like here?
yeah, a big part of what we do, and this was again things that were designed into the program long before I got here, but what we call quality of life. And so there was this real thinking of how do we intentionally create something so that we can, yes, we're going to support their business with funding, we're going to connect them to our network here and outside of Buffalo, but then how do we make them fall in love with this city and do it in a really genuine way? Like we're going to give you access to everything that we have here, and we're going to help you get settled, and then you're going to see all that it has to offer. And so they win on stage in October, and then we spend those November, December months prepping them with everything from, if they're bringing children, some of them are moving with their kids who are like,
Mhm.
in the middle of it, third, fourth, fifth graders, and they're coming from all the way from Texas or the West Coast. And, we help them find schools, we help them find childcare. They get here. Think of all the things, like maybe you have a dog. What do you do? I'm a founder. I'm traveling a lot. Who's going to watch my dog? So all those little things that you might not, that are unrelated to their business, but are very much a part of their life. It's their personal life. And so
Mhm.
we try to help them there as much as we possibly can, because then it also, that's another part of what really helps them to focus on their business. And it's probably not even a part of what we sell or talk about a lot until we really get down a far path with a founder, and maybe they're in our top 20 set, like, consideration. And that's when we really start to talk about that piece of it.
Yeah, and just kind of thinking about that startup world too. It is probably so all encompassing, especially when you've got some initial traction, you've gone through your seed round, and then you're starting to grow. It's really just a push and really requires a lot. So even to have those little things that make a big difference, especially we're in a time now where like work and life are more integrated than ever. I think the early 2020s here have definitely changed the game in that respect. But even for startups too, it's probably been that way for a while. I imagine of it. It just takes a village to raise a startup probably, and just those little things go a long way, I bet.
Yeah, and I think it's something that it takes a village, but it's actually, being a founder is really lonely. That's something they
Mhm.
say. And so by coming here, by being a part of our program, they suddenly have this whole kind of cohort, fraternity, family, whatever you want to call it, that they can lean into, and they're all sharing the same struggles and helping each other get over pain points. And they wouldn't have had that if they just stayed in that city that they were building in. I think that's a big part of what our founders advocate, and how and why they advocate for us, is that value that comes with, just the benefits of being around other founders and building together, people that are kind of facing those similar challenges. That if you stay in a big city like New York, there's like that competitive nature. And not to say that doesn't exist here, but it's just different.
It definitely is, and it brings me back to a point too that obviously both 43 North and Lighthouse Technology Services are located in Seneca One, right in the heart of downtown Buffalo, and there's a lot of momentum towards building this type of a tech hub and bringing in tons of different companies, lots of collaboration, things like that. It's very like you said, there's still some competition aspect to it, but I think there's a lot of collaboration right now within the Western New York tech community, and people realizing that it's not a zero sum game, that working together we can accomplish a lot more than apart. Where does that kind of come into play to benefit startups?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a part of something that is distinctly different about Buffalo today than maybe 20 years ago. Or the if you talk to some of the founding members or visionaries of 43 North, they talk a lot about what was needed in those early days of when we started. At least, like, you had to have a shift in mindset and moving away from this idea of scarcity, and really understanding, like, there is enough for all of us. And if we can do it together instead of trying to compete with each other, we're gonna be that much better for it. And I think that's a changing tide that we're seeing now and we're benefiting from. That I think it really didn't exist before. And that's, I've heard that anecdotally, but
Mhm.
you're in the tower and you can see and feel how that's working, how it was designed to create those collisions. It was something I kind of, when I first got into this space myself, I not rolled my eyes, but I'm like, okay, this is so like Silicon Valley-esque, but it really is. I can't tell you how many times I run into people in the lobby, even like you and I, like, we see each other, we didn't know each other before,
Yeah.
we started working together on this stuff. And so that those kinds of things, what that does to spur creativity, it might drive some inspiration for somebody that hasn't, like, entrepreneurial dreams. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but I've really bought into it because I've seen the power behind it.
It's so true. Yeah, it's great to see people from 43 North, from M&T, from Odoo, just from all the different companies across Seneca One here. Just so many opportunities for collaboration around the tower. So many people kind of driving and trying to raise all ships across Buffalo too. The thing that always strikes me about Buffalo too, and maybe this ties back to startups as well, is that when we talk about technology, and there's a lot of the mindset that still defaults to somewhere like Silicon Valley or New York City, where it's the big tech cities and things like that. But there's so many opportunities in technology in Buffalo with not necessarily technology companies. Thinking about somewhere like M&T Bank and Financial Services. Trying to think about, tons of manufacturing companies have needs for technology as well. I feel like Buffalo is just a place that really attracts a lot of those kinds of companies that are tech integrated, but not necessarily tech focused like a software company. So I was wondering maybe if you could touch on that a little bit too, of some of the companies that have come in to Buffalo and found success through 43 North that maybe might not have been, what we colloquially think of as tech companies.
Yeah, for sure. And 43 North is an interesting, has some interesting examples there because we're industry agnostic, right? So
Mhm.
when it comes to types of businesses or industries or verticals that they might be in, we've seen it all, and we've kind of at this point invested in all of it too. So you think of like an ACV auctions, that they're that tech play that you would expect, right? But we have other companies that are climbing and rising, quickly behind them, who maybe, to your point, just have like elements of tech woven into their product or service, whatever it is. But that manufacturing piece is always really interesting to me. So, like one of our portfolio companies is a company called Clean Fiber, and
Mhm.
they make insulation out of recycled cardboard boxes. So
Oh, neat.
obviously a super proprietary element to what they're building. And then you think about how much they're manufacturing. I think they just shipped, I want to say they just shipped their millionth bag, which was a
Awesome.
huge milestone for
Big
them.
milestone.
And they've hired, they're located, their manufacturing plant is right here in Western New York. It's created tons of jobs, and the tech aspect of that too is in the manufacturing side of it. But the really cool thing is that it's created those jobs. It hasn't eliminated them.
Mhm.
Other companies like that, Top Seeds, everybody in Buffalo, I think, is a fan of Top Seeds at this point, but they have a
Big
huge
time.
national distribution, and they're made right here in our backyard, and they're working on building out their new manufacturing space themselves, where they will be able to automate some of their work, but also continue to expand their workforce by putting those people into different roles as they scale.
Mhm.
Going from what they're doing to like hand roll those crackers, and then being able to make so many more in their new facility. So those are kind of two, interesting examples. I think that the one of the things for us, people always say like, "What's your criteria? What are you looking for in a company?" And we look for all those things that venture capitalists. We obviously need to see signals
Mhm.
of traction and growth. But another thing that's unique is like we talk about what is their fit for Buffalo. We might have this really awesome company on paper that any investor is going to want to invest in. But if it doesn't look like they're going to come here and do what 43 North was designed to do, so drive that economic activity, like create jobs here, then they just might not be the best fit for us, and it might be a reason we have to say no to them.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a very unique fit too. Obviously, we've kind of talked about a lot of the different community aspects of Buffalo as well, in addition to those startup factors that you're looking for when assessing a potential company to invest in. I'm glad you brought up Top Seeds as well, because that's one of my favorite stories as well. That they partnered with Journeys End Refugee Services, which is a group in Buffalo that helps find job placement for people who are coming to the city from places, where their situation wasn't necessarily as good, and they're coming to get a fresh start in the United States and coming to Buffalo for that. So able to help find jobs for people like that, and building up the entire workforce here in Buffalo. It seems like a really unique opportunity to bring more types of companies that can do that and really elevate the entire region as well.
Yeah, I mean, and Rebecca Brady is the founder of Top Seeds, and her whole story is really kind of like you would write that, from our perspective. She started out as like she made these crackers at home, and people loved them so much that it kind of moved her to start to create a small business out of it, and she's just been steadily growing and climbing, like growing that business. She was someone that received a grant from a program that 43 North had launched, Ignite Buffalo. For anybody that's familiar with that,
Nice.
Rebecca won some seed money from that. That was a grant, not an investment,
Mhm.
and she put that to work in her business. And one of the ways she did that was by hiring, the people who are really the heart and soul of those crackers, right? Or, of her business. And she found a great way to create opportunities for people that never would have had that. Something that's always fascinating to me, you walk into their facility, and most of the employees they're not speaking English, and so she's found ways to make that work and still run this extremely efficient, facility there and churn out the crackers. I mean, they have more demand than ever, so it's
Mhm.
been something that she did, and it created opportunities, but it's working really well to fuel her growth too.
Yeah, and it's just such an inspiring way to think about creating belonging and helping people like find that community sense in Buffalo too. That there's a little bit for everybody here. I feel like whether it's people who are sports fans and rallying around Bills and Sabres games, or people who are looking for more of the arts side in Buffalo. The big Albright Knox Gallery just reopened this week actually. There's a little bit for everybody here as a person who's looking for a city to relocate to. And then you combine that with the startup support in the community there, and it's a really exciting time to be coming to Buffalo.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's part of those are the things that they're kind of like that amenity side of it that has to be happening here in order for all of this to work. I look at it as like we're hitting this collective stride, like it's happening at the right time. And a lot of
Yeah.
that is it's not just a coincidence. I mean, there's a lot of intentionality behind that, but I think it's coming together all at the right moment. I talk about like the Bills being as successful as they've been, the Bills winning, that is huge for our brand. Like that's
Mhm.
for we feel like we sell Buffalo at 43 North, and so when we're out on the city, it's when we're outside of the city, when we're traveling, it helps to be, it gives us like a little street cred to be like, oh, Bills Mafia, or the Bills are awesome. And it sounds silly, but it really goes a long way in giving our city a boost and giving our city, I think, frankly, the respect that we haven't had in a long time, that we always deserved. And the people here, we knew we deserved that, but it just took some time for that outside to see it.
Yeah, yeah, just everybody putting in the work together, but then the collective strides coming together, as you said right now. Remembering back to last year's pitch finals in October, and I think it had to be at least two or three different companies that gave a Go Bills on stage and just raucous applause for 3,000 people at Shays, and that was really cool to see. But something that has been a really long time coming, and just kind of unifies the city too. Just
Yeah.
walking around the sidewalks, and there's always a Go Bills or a Go Sabres. There's just so many different things like that that rally everyone together.
Yeah, for sure. We found that the finals crowd loves the Bills element. I mean, everybody in Buffalo loves when you throw it in anywhere, but it's something we always are kind of little hidden Easter eggs in the show. If you pay close attention, and it gets the crowd going a lot. So we always like to have a little fun with that.
Love it. As we wrap up here, Maura, maybe you can just tell me a little bit about the application process and where that's at right now, and where 43 North is going for the rest of the year here.
Yeah, so we are in the thick of it right now. We are 1 week away from our deadline. So our application's been open for a few weeks, and really we're at a point where any founder out there, we're typically looking for seed stage companies. That's kind of our sweet spot of what we can support. But if you're a founder, or if you know a founder who would be a good fit for 43 North and our program, but also to build their business here in Buffalo, like we want to meet them. The last week of the application period is always the busiest. We get the procrastinators come out really by the hundreds, maybe the thousands, and so we'll just be generating a lot of application activity this week, and then we'll close a week from now, and that's where we move into selection and diligence. And really, you never know how many applications you're going to get, but our team, our portfolio team, and our selection team, they always have a plan of, how do we get through those? We tap some outside expertise in terms of judges. We bring them in, and we go through about 3 rounds that get us down to our top set, kind of by closer to the end of the summer.
Mhm.
And as we move into the fall, that's when we have a smaller pool of applicants at that point. We're having more one-on-one interviews with them. We're digging into,
Great.
what's under the surface in their business. And then before you know it, we have our top 20 companies that we're going to be bringing to finals, or to finals week rather, in
Mhm.
October. So from here, especially for our team, it just goes by like that. And so we're all really excited to see, what's inside that application portal. Who are the
Yeah.
companies, like who are kind of the ones that look like they could make it to the top. So it's a really exciting time for us. It's a really busy time. Something you mentioned before, Joe, just about, so October, so finals this year is on Thursday, October 12th. But the week leading up to that, and something we've been doing over the years is trying to make that, it's not just that one moment of finals night, which is a huge night. It's like our Super Bowl, but it's a week of activity now that leads up to that. And so there are just different moments where the community can get involved and be a part of that. So if you live in Buffalo, pay attention for that. Keep your eye out. Like there'll be some fun things in and around Seneca One that you can come down to. And then, I always say the best way to learn about all that we do is to go to finals at Shays. It's always really exciting. And we try to make it new and different and better every year. So
Yeah, that's gonna be such a fun week, and kudos to you and the team, and best of luck as everything heats up here. You've got a great team. I'm a big fan of everyone on the marketing team there. That's always keeping everybody informed of where the competition's at and what's coming up. So looking forward to how the rest of the year plays out here.
yeah, thank you.
And then to wrap up here, we always try to do one segment that's kind of in line with our core values at Lighthouse. We talk about Be a Lighthouse, which is about guiding people to solutions and helping others find what they need. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to shout out someone who's helped you lately, maybe someone who's helped you learn something new or helped you navigate a problem at work, something like that. Open that up
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, this is I kind of right away go to like mentors, but I think um especially maybe right now because this is the world that I'm living in, but I mean, a lighthouse for me, the marketing team at 43 North, like they're incredible. It's what they do, the talent that they have, like it's there, and I think they could do this stuff in their sleep and make it really easy, but I think what's so impressive and what drives me is the way that they're just constantly trying to raise the bar and take the work to the next level. Like no one gets complacent. Nobody takes for granted that like this work as an opportunity and what we get to do. And I don't think people don't see it. People don't get to see. I think me and Colleen are out there talking quite a bit, but like behind the scenes, what the team is doing and how their fingerprints are all over the success of this program and what it's done for Buffalo. Like they are genuinely, and especially right now because everybody's in it, and the whole team is great. I just work with the marketing team so much, so they're just super talented, and they inspire me, and they are a huge part of why all of this works so well. So yeah, that's my answer to the marketing team.
Love it. Thank you. Shout out to everyone back at 43 North, and can't wait to see how the rest of the year goes. So, Maura, I wanted to thank you again for your time. Really enjoyed the show today, and looking forward to the rest of the summer here into the fall, and looking forward to this year's year 9 competition.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Yeah, I'll just say to everybody, hit up 43north.org. That's where you can apply for our year 9 cohort. We're doing 5 investments, $1 million each for 5% equity. So send us your founders, and yeah, go Bills. Happy
Let's
Friday.
go. Go Bills, go 43 North. Thanks for joining, Maura. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
Have a great day.
You too.